To give batters a different look, pitchers throw a changeup.
Your idea of a different look is sunglasses.
That's true. But La Quinta Inns and Suites is really taking the different look thing to a new level.
Definitely a major league makeover, starting with a bolder, brighter lobby full of comfortable spaces to let you settle in.
Or chill out in front of a big flat screen like Wingo would.
Oh, you know it. It's a changing La Quinta look to help you get in the zone and look sharp when you hit that big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com. Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome in to another edition of Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests today will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here with you. Boys, how are we doing today?
We're doing well.
Yeah.
You know, keeping an eye on the World Cup. We have standing updates we'll get to with our snake draft. So that kind of keeps me going through the day. I kind of dig that.
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time because an interesting day today because we've got obviously things going on in the World Cup, a match coming up we'll talk to a little bit. We have apparently time travel.
Yeah, we do.
So we got to book Ronda Rousey again.
Yeah.
Make sure she joins us. Talk about that.
Break that down.
A little flux capacitor issue. And we apparently have someone who has decided after winning it all, I'm good. I'm going to move on.
It's a walk-off.
It's a walk-off in the best possible way.
Walk-off.
So we got a lot to get to. Also, we got the NBA draft coming up in a couple of days. And really now, a very interesting scenario taking place in Cleveland where the Cavaliers are going to have to make a decision very soon, not knowing what LeBron's decision is going to be.
Yeah, there's some interesting things, obviously, in basketball with the whole LeBron thing, with Kawhi thrown into it, the draft coming up, and an old shoe making a comeback to a new shoe, and some of the top draft picks jumping on it and getting paid for it, which is pretty cool. That shoe was popular at Puma when we were kids.
Dude, Puma's been around a while.
Yeah,
right?
definitely
They are back in the swing of things now.
Yeah, going to try and rebrand it a little bit because they recognize the one thing that all of these guys are fully aware of right now. Now more than ever, the modern athlete has treated himself more as a businessman than ever before. Businessman or businesswoman more than ever before. Yeah. And so these guys understand that, you can go all these other places, but they're not going to love up on you the same, and a lot of them aren't going to throw the same dollar amounts at you that Puma is clearly willing to do.
So how excited are you, Mr. Collector of every tennis shoe out there?
Oh, if they got something hot, listen, I'm going to be wearing it. There is no question about that, all right?
I was about to say, that was the surest bet on the board,
Holy
right?
smokes.
Just out of curiosity, how many pairs of sneakers do you have?
Right now,
I
just got rid of some, but I'd probably say I'm just north of 30 right now.
It's unbelievable.
Chappie's the same way.
I mean,
I got a real beauty the other day. You guys are going to see in a couple of days, man. Boy, oh boy!
Unbelievable. It's now. Do you keep the boxes for them and everything?
Yeah, I got a stack of boxes about the size of about the height of my actual wall right now. We're working on some. We got some plans for this, but again, this is it right now.
Yeah.
This is a generation that prioritizes that. There's a lot of clout around this, and so putting your name and your brand on something like this that's also now associated with Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Did I get that? Did I get the old focus?
Yeah, that was kind of played.
No, that's for Golic saying tennis shoe.
Oh, tennis shoe.
A little late.
Yes,
okay, way to have nobody have any idea why that was. I said tennis shoe a minute ago.
Yeah, we knew you. We know you guys.
And you
we
play
knew
the
that you'd ask why we
sound,
played it.
and you play the old man sound when Mike is talking to 28-year-old.
That's on you guys.
Strike
man.
one out there.
That's
that was
on you
awful.
Guys. That's way too
Holy
late. No,
smokes.
that's a hard pass.
They just ruined that.
Is that
Now
an
we gotta
airline
move on.
They did. So Anyway, we'll have that discussion.
Yeah, we will.
Lon Kruger will join us, Oklahoma head coach, to talk about Trae Young and what he thinks he'll do in the NBA as the NBA draft is coming up on Thursday. Tom Penn, ESPN NBA front office insider, will join us in studio again. A lot of moving parts, especially somebody else. It looks like they're bailing out on San Antonio because they believe Kawhi is bailing on San
Tom
Antonio.
Penn is so good at putting the money in the players where everything will fit, and you can actually make a team and just saying, let's put a guy there.
Exactly.
You mean instead of just firing up the NBA trade machine online?
Exactly. Colin Montgomerie, World Golf Hall of Famer, will join us, talk about what he thought about the U.S. Open, what he thought about Phil Mickelson's stunt on 13, and Bruce Arena, former United States men's national coach of the soccer team, will join us. talking about what he thinks about the World Cup and how the U.S. can get back into this thing. Hopefully by the time, the next World Cup rolls around, but definitely by the time, we host this thing.
Yeah, it would be nice, yeah.
In 2026. A united hosting with Mexico and Canada. So we got a lot to get to, and let's start with what's trending. And what's trending is the Houston Astros continuing to be the best team in baseball right now. They extended their winning streak to 12 on Alex Bregman's walk-off double in the bottom of the ninth inning.
Yeah, the last team to overcome at least a 4-run deficit to extend a win streak to at least 12 games. You go back to September of 2002, the A's. Moneyball had that long win streak. They overcame a 5-run deficit against the Royals to extend their win streak to 19 games. So that was been a while since that happened. 12-game win streak, one shy of tying for the fourth longest win streak by defending World Series champ, that being held by the 53 Yankees after winning the World Series that next year won 18 in a row.
Yeah, Houston seems to be reminding us all of who they were. Now, it gets interesting going forward because you mentioned that win streak at 19 right now. When you look at the way that the schedule for the Astros...
No, it's a 12 for the Astros right now.
It's a 12 for the Astros,
12.
But you're talking about for the Moneyball team, that
right.
Win streak at 19.
Right.
The way the Astros schedule lines up right now, you have Tampa Bay, who they just beat. You have Kansas City, who they just beat 3 times before that. Coming up, their schedule is Tampa Bay, Kansas City, and then the Blue Jays 3 times after that, followed by 3 more rounds of Tampa Bay.
So you're already looking at the 19-gamer, huh?
I'm just saying, how high do we think this goes? Because
Yeah.
this isn't some team that's sort of surprising the way that team did. No. This is the defending World Series champions playing as good and damn well as we know they can.
By the way, yesterday was the 15-year anniversary of the book Moneyball.
Yeah?
That just came out.
There you go. Look at it all tying together.
All comes together like this, and the Astros maintain their lead atop the AL West. Protecting the lead is brought to you by ADT. Considering home security? ? Consider this statement. For 140 years, ADT has helped stop more crime than any other home security company. Visit ADT.com to learn more. Staying in Major League Baseball,
oh boy,
where's Ronda Rousey?
Yeah.
Because apparently Juan Soto does have the ability to travel back in time.
The 3-1, swinging a long drive right field. Forget about it. He's done it to the Yankees again. That one almost clears the upper deck, and one bounces onto the concourse. That's one of the longest home runs we've seen in that direction here at Nationals Park since 2008. Juan Soto homers in a game that started on May 15th. On June the 18th, is it his first home run or his 6th? He does it to the Yankees again, 3 homers in his last 2 games against the Bronx Bombers, and the Nationals lead 5-3 as Juan Soto put that one into orbit.
Okay, the call on the Nationals radio network. For those that are confused.
Read slowly.
Exactly. The Yankees and Nats played a doubleheader, and one of those games was a makeup game from May 15th. And in the makeup game from May 15th is where Juan Soto hit that home run. The only problem is Soto made his Major League debut on May 20th. So the home run actually counts, Mike, as a May 15th home run, but it's not his first Major League home run.
And for those who may think, wow, this has to be a first. Well, it's a first for a home run. It's not a first for a hit. It happened to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds, he officially got his first Major League hit on May 31st, 1986. He later got a hit on August 11th, 1986, in a game that was suspended and first played April 20th, 1986. Hey. So same kind of scenario, but it was for a first hit. This was for a first home run. Wow, it's confusing.
You figure for the amount of makeup games we were going to have this year based on all the weather early on that we were going to be tripping over landmines left and right for something potentially like this. But for Juan Soto, who was already a story because of his great start to his Major League career, this is going to be a nice little footnote for him as we maybe look back on this. I
do like the fact 6 of his home runs, 3 have been against the Yankees.
Yes. Yeah. So again, to recap, it happened.
Yeah.
Before he got called up, so technically it can't be his first home run because this game was a May 15th makeup, but it does count as a home run.
Who says you can't go back in time?
I got to imagine Ronda Rousey is just punching clocks right now. Like she's so confused and personally offended by this idea.
Say?
Ronda Rousey.
It's Golic and Wingo.
So there is a possibility that you could go back in time?
There's a possibility that I could go back in time? That's your question to me?
Go back in time and fight. Go back in the octagon.
I do not have the ability to go back in time, no.
So apparently Juan Soto has more abilities than Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
That's what we're learning.
Just punching clocks right now. Literally punching the clock.
By the way, just so people, I called it a makeup game. It was a continuation of a suspended
game, right.
So much in the way he suspends time by using his flux
There you
capacitor.
go.
This was the makeup of a suspended game, and Juan Soto.
And hey, if all of you out there understand all the stuff we just said, good on you.
Just know this much. Juan Soto can travel in time, and Ronda Rousey.
There you go.
That's all you need to know.
Okay.
Yes, Harry Kane. Man. Harry Kane is my guy. England was staring at a draw in their opening match against Tunisia. By the way, as Max Bretos told us when he was on the show last week, the Tunisia mascot, the Eagles of Carthage. Doesn't get much better than that.
You're right.
But Harry Kane said, not today, Eagles of Carthage. A header in stoppage time as England gets the win.
By the way, their last 2 opening rounds for England, the last 2 World Cups, they have not won. The last win was 2006 against Paraguay. The game winner, unbelievable, is the latest regulation game winner for England at the World Cup. Tunisia, by the way, winless in 12 straight World Cup matches dating back to 1978. So you kind of thought this outcome was going to happen.
Yes.
But Kane certainly made it pretty dramatic for England in this one.
Yeah, as you mentioned, on this kind of stage, the national stage, the World Cup stage, a big departure for England in the beginning, and it can set a strong tone because the other ones, they've petered out very quickly and been embarrassed in some cases on these kind of stages. So for them, they're hoping this propels them to greater heights and not some sort of letdown. And for us here, we found the answer to the most pressing question. Who's got Tunisia? It's the show staff.
Yeah.
And they are not thrilled about it right now.
No, they are not.
It was a big win for me. That's all I'm taking. You know, it's funny. England is obviously very sensitive because they are a soccer crazed nation.
Yes.
And they've only won this thing once, the World Cup. And I remember we played them, I think, in the first match when the World Cup was in South Africa in 2010. And I put a joke out there on Twitter. I said, in 1776, we took your colonies. And now in 2010, we're taking your World Cup. And boy, were they upset with that one. I was just having a little fun. And they were like,
you can't have a little
you're
fun.
You're saying you're going to beat us? And it ended up a draw. I think it ended up a draw.
They're more mad about that than the fact that we actually took their colonies, man. You figure the memory would be a little bit longer than that. By the way, yesterday's goal gives way to one of my favorite all-time movie headlines. And it can apply here because Kane goes with the game winner from the not the replacements, excuse me. From why am I forgetting this right now?
What's the name of the movie?
The program.
The program.
Yeah, the all-time greatest Heisman Trophy headline ever. Kane is able.
There you go.
Oh yeah.
Nicely
okay.
done.
There you go. Well done.
I'm glad we got there. It took a long way to
man,
get there.
butchered that one. I'm sorry for that great radio.
There you go. So, but today's matches could feature some of the top goal scorers in the tournament. Colombia's James Rodriguez won the Golden Boot at the 2014 FIFA World Cup. He's uncertain, though,
he's got
with that left calf injury. And then your guy looks like he's going to go.
Mo Salah's not my guy. That's actually a juniors team for Egypt.
I was looking at Poland.
Oh, Poland. Robert Lewandowski, he scored 16 goals in a World Cup qualifying. Mo Salah scored 42 goals in the Premier League this season, so a lot of goal scoring. Now, Salah didn't play in the first game.
Right.
Supposed to play in this one against Russia. That would be the staff as Russia. My son has Egypt. Poland I have, Senegal, Mike you have, so C on that one. And Colombia, the staff has, and Japan, Trey, you have. So an update of the standings, and we're going to get us an update sounder at some point here.
Yeah.
But it got close. Mike, you are now winning in our snake draft here for the World Cup. Mike has 11 points. Mike and Devin. The staff has 10. Trey, you and I have 9.
Let's go. Big day for us.
Yeah.
Big day. We're just setting the table. I've said it all along. My strategy was all about England taking down Tunisia. And thanks to Harry
It happened.
Kane.
Again, we're getting 3 points for a win, 1 point for a tie, obviously nothing for a loss. Of the 4 different teams have 8 teams each, so we're just keeping score like they do.
The Baloney Boys are out here today. Devin and I are just building the cohesion for our challenge later today that we've got to finally put out there before. Devin and I are going to be world record holders soon. We're going to take the world by storm and then take your paycheck.
Again, that's Tony Finau, the golfer, and his buddy. He hit a ball 110 yards, and his buddy caught 12 of them.
Who was a minor league baseball player. And I got to get his name just because I feel bad. I'm shortchanging him on that. But they caught 12 in a minute. 12 110-yard golf shots that were caught in 1 minute. You guys are going to try and replicate that. And if you do, I take one of my paychecks and split it and give you guys half each. If not, you do a month of washing my car in Speedos. You know the other thing, if you do this, your other 2 kids are going to go, whoa, where's our half of one of your paychecks?
Listen.
Yeah, they can go out and earn it.
Do we really think my daughter Sydney is hurting in that,
No.
Yeah, in that
I don't think so.
Right.
Like I said, by the way, stuff that replicate word. We're going to beat it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Get out of
replicate.
here. No chance. And then there's the curious case of Barry Trotz. Can we get Tom Wilson on the way on this?
Holy smokes.
Make sure he finally made it to Toronto, and then see where he feels about what's going on with Barry Trotz. The Capitals head coach tendered his resignation from the team, becoming a free agent after leading the franchise to its first ever Stanley Cup on June 7th.
Okay, so
Lots to get to.
Let's set as easy as I can here. He signed a deal in 2014, did Trotz. And as part of that deal, if he won a Stanley Cup, a 2-year extension would kick in, bumping his salary by $300,000. Now, he signed that in 2014. During that time, it was a couple of coaches, Joel Quenneville and Mike Babcock, signed big deals, monster deals in that time.
Yep.
So Trotz wins the Stanley Cup, that kicks in the 2-year extension, but he goes for more. He wants a 5-year extension for more money. And as the GM for Washington said, his representative wants to take advantage of Barry's experience and Stanley Cup win. Yes. And was trying to negotiate a deal that compensates him as one of the better coaches in the league, top 4 or 5 coaches. And basically, they couldn't agree on this 5 years that Trotz wanted and more money. But basically, it was the 5 years. So Trotz resigned. The Islanders is the only job available, so he's probably going to either get that or he's going to sit for a year before he comes to coach again. But that's basically it. Wins a Stanley Cup. This has happened before, and then leaves the next year. I think it's what happened. What did you say this morning? 5 times in the last 40 years?
5 times in the last 40 years, but usually it's been for guys on the back end of their career, guys who are retiring because of old age.
Yeah. Scotty Bowman, by the way, retired after 2002. Because he'd done everything he possibly could. The last time an active coach just resigned and then went on to coach again happened in 1994 when Mike Keenan led the Rangers to their first Stanley Cup since 1940. And then he said the Rangers breached the contract. Well, this is really fascinating because I was in St. Louis in 94, and as soon as this happened, the Blues front office went all in on getting Mike Keenan. Mike Keenan did eventually come to the St. Louis Blues and became the coach there for a few years. But the way Keenan sort of got out of the contract, the Rangers were 1 day late on a bonus payment.
1 day late.
1 day late. So they were 1 day late, and Mike Keenan held a press conference that says the Rangers have breached the contract. I have accepted that breach, and now I am a free agent. It was unbelievable. Wow. And then the Rangers held this press conference saying, these are all the things we did for Mike Keenan that we didn't have to do. We got him these, tickets to a Broadway show, all this kind of stuff. But, technically, Keenan was right.
Technically, it was right, but it looked like a Bush League move, right?
It was significant.
I like the idea of accepting a breach.
Yes.
I accept your breach. You have breached and I accept.
The Clippers not as accepting of Houston's breach earlier this season.
Exactly.
Doc Clippers?
Yeah. Exactly right. Doc Clippers. So it's interesting. I mean, Barry, so either you think that Barry Trotz is all in on coaching the Islanders, which would seem a little strange because they've really struggled, and the Caps have had the best record the last 4 years when he's been there, or does it look more like he's willing to sit the year out?
I think it's one, first and foremost, it's one of those, hey, wait a minute, okay, I know I signed that, the 2-year extension kicks in at not a lot of more money, and these guys just sign money. Yeah. I don't blame them for trying to do now that they couldn't come to a negotiated agreement for that, because it seems like the 5 years was the big sticking point, as Washington was saying, listen, he's only been here 4 years, now he wants 5 years added to that.
You just won the first Stanley Cup ever.
As they were saying, most coaches don't last 9 years, so all of a sudden we're doing that, but off the heels of just winning their first Stanley Cup. So I kind of get it from both sides. I'm a little surprised because they were working on a new deal since they won the Cup that they weren't able to come to some kind of agreement on this.
Well, and especially because it's not just the Cup. I mean, in the 4 years he's been there, they've got the best record in the NHL in that time period. They've got 2 President's trophies. Now, the hallmark of the tenure had still been, like the entirety of Ovi's time there, they hadn't been able to get over that hump. But now that you've added that and you've shown, all right, we've been able to match this consistency with the ability to get over that hump, which is a little more random. This is surprising, and to me shows the one thing over anything else, the value that this one cup alone has for this franchise in this area.
Correct.
You know what's amazing is that the general manager, Brian McClellan, basically said if they lost again like they had, he was going to be fired. Well, Trotz was. Yeah. He said we couldn't get out of the second round, and Barry hadn't been able to coach out of the second round yet either. I think from the organization's perspective, some changes would have been made had we lost in the second round again.
But you know what? They didn't.
They didn't.
Lose
they won.
In the second round.
They won.
I mean, they won it all. And let's get Ovi's reaction to the entire thing.
Yeah!
Of course, that's not him reacting to
No, he's not. No. And again, the general manager said, I think the 5-year term is probably a sticking point. You have a coach that's been there 4 years. You do another 5 years. That's 9 years. There's not many coaches that have that lasting ability. So,
well, yes and no, but you know where he was before he came to Washington? He was the Predators head coach for 15 seasons. I mean, he lasted 15 seasons in Nashville. So 9 when you've won the first Stanley Cup in 43 years of your franchise history.
Surprised
it seems like you would want to work this out.
It seems like it. What I will say in defense of their process, if it's true that they were going to fire him if he didn't make it out of that, is they had been making it to that level in the playoffs for a while before him. So I'm sure they figured we can do that after him. So if you're being procedurally driven in this and you're saying that was going to be the difference between us firing him and us maybe not bringing him back, I can kind of respect the organization sticking to its plan and saying, we know what we've built here. We don't think it's beholden to one guy for the dollar amount that he wants in all of this. And to me, it'll still say this one cup meant a lot to this franchise. And so the idea of repeating, while it would be great, doesn't appear to be paramount in this, because if you're going to do that, you'd want to keep this as cohesive together as possible.
Again, and then the question I would ask, if winning a Stanley Cup and being a part of it as the head coach and bringing the first Stanley Cup to a franchise that has been historically one of the worst in playoff performances in the league over that time frame, if that doesn't add value to you, what does? I mean, what else could he have done to add more value to himself as a head coach besides winning the freaking Stanley Cup?
Yeah,
what else could he have done?
And it looks like they're going to try probably keep it in-house. They've been grooming the associate head coach, Todd Reardon, for the head coaching gig, so it looks like they'll just elevate.
Well, good luck to you, Todd. We know what the standard is.
Yeah.
Certainly a nice leverage point for that team, though, is he's saying, you say, listen, we've got this guy that's been waiting here right now, that's been learning from you and been a part of this every step of the way, coached a lot of the defense for them. So got to think that wasn't necessarily a feather in his cap.
So what's more of a concern? That looks like Todd Reardon may be the guy trying to do something that Barry Trotz did, which is win a Stanley Cup, or that any of the Capitals will still be drunk by the time the season starts.
Oh, well, they're all going to be drunk. That's a given. Yeah.
The over-under on games next year might be 12.
Yeah.
Because they're still going to be celebrating this
without question
for a long, long time.
Golic
and Wingo.
And Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Glad you're with us on a Tuesday morning. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Man, there's a lot going on right now with the World Cup, with Barry Trotz leaving the Capitals, and people trying to figure out exactly what's going to happen with LeBron. We got a lot of shifting sand underneath us in the sports world.
We do, and then in baseball, there's time travel that one of our own favorites is basically saying he's going to retire if something happens along with that time travel.
Got to put a stop to this. Got to put a stop to that, by the way. I refuse to lose our national treasure.
No, Timmy can't go anywhere. We'll get into that in just a little bit. The NBA draft is coming up on Thursday, and of course that's the big impetus for the LeBron situation, as we are all full in.
This is LeBron Watch.
Because the Cavs may have to make a decision with what they're going to do with that 8th pick, either trade it or keep it, without knowing what LeBron James' final decision is.
I don't see all of a sudden now that LeBron, unless LeBron completely wants to stay in Cleveland and is all in and says, okay, what are we going to do with that pick? What can we do to build this team? I don't see that happening, so I don't think they're going to know. So they're going in having to decide, and they put themselves in this position by trading Kyrie away when they really didn't have to. But they did because Kyrie wanted out, to now having to make a decision about this pick.
It kind of reminds me of how nonsensical that phrase, it's not personal, it's just business, always seems to be when it applies to sports.
What's more personal than business?
Look, I mean, you look at the two driving forces behind this NBA offseason are going to end up being in some way or another affecting this. Dan Gilbert's poor relationship with LeBron based on past transgressions, and Kawhi Leonard's poor relationship with the Spurs based on how things were managed and dealt with his injury, the interpersonal relationships that resulted during the season from that, all going to end up driving the two biggest business decisions of the offseason.
Absolutely. And we've got the draft coming up again on Thursday. Lon Kruger, the head coach of Oklahoma, will join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Talking about Trae Young, a guy that could be there at 8 or 9 for the Cleveland Cavaliers or maybe the New York Knicks after that. What he thinks about his potential at the next level after his one season at Oklahoma. We've also got Bretymology coming up later on this hour. And I got to tell you, during the break, I wasn't here last week for this. Bretymology last week was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was very good. I went 0 for 4, so it wasn't that good.
I actually went 2 for 4. I won't count it in the standings.
No, it doesn't count.
Brett,
in the
but you can't confirm. I did go 2 for 4.
I delivered last week's Bretymology to Trey while we were getting in our steps in the break, and he went 2 for 4.
Yeah, it doesn't count though.
No, it doesn't. Yeah. But I will say the one he made up about the wooden king coming back and then dead and the donkey that pooped gold.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a deranged mind at work.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Brett's a serial killer. I'm convinced. After last week's Bretymology, I'm convinced that Brett has some tendencies that we need to explore. So we're going to see if they're displayed yet again in Bretymology this week.
Yeah, that was a little frightening, and I was very impressed at the same time. So we'll get into that a little bit later, but let's start this hour, as we normally do, with what's trending, and what's trending is the Astros are good. They overcame a 4-run deficit and extended their winning streak to 12 straight on Alex Bregman's walk-off 2-run double in the bottom of the ninth.
Yeah, he's done that a couple times this year for Houston. And the last team with a win streak like this to overcome at least a 4-run deficit with a win streak of at least 12 games. You go back to September 2nd, 2002. The A's overcame a 5-run deficit against the Royals to extend their win streak to 19 straight. So Astros just on fire. We were talking earlier, obviously, about the Seattle Mariners when they were on top of that division. Seattle's really only 2 behind, and this is based off still a Houston 12-game winning streak. So Seattle's still right there. The Angels have fallen back. They're 10.5 back. But Houston, continuing on from that World Series championship last year.
Yep, and have a pretty strong chance of continuing that streak tonight with Justin Verlander on the mound.
That helps.
Yeah. He's been pretty good, basically trailing only Jacob deGrom when it comes to most pitching stats right now, including his 1.61 ERA, second to only deGrom, and Verlander's actually getting the run support, which has to be a nice feeling that deGrom is looking longingly at from his prison in the Mets.
Yeah, again, just so people understand what we're looking at with Justin Verlander, the lowest opponent batting average in a single season among qualified pitchers, it's Pedro Martinez at 167 in 2000, Luis Tiant in 1967, Nolan Ryan in 1971, and Nolan Ryan again, 1991.
My God.
That's the most impressive thing. 20 years later, Nolan Ryan was still throwing gas like that.
I was looking at that wondering if that was a typo. That's insanity.
No. And opponents are just hitting 160 against Verlander right now. That would set the record if he continued that all season. If he continued that all season, good God, all power to him for a lot of reasons, actually. And then if Juan Soto, thank you, Mike. Yeah. Juan Soto is a time traveler. He is what Ronda Rousey isn't. We found that out yesterday in the Bronx.
All right, so, we're going to try to explain this.
Good luck.
All right.
I'm going to put my feet up. Right. You go work for a minute.
All right, according to Elias Sports, Soto's home run is not considered his first career home run. That will go into the record books from May 21st against the San Diego Padres. Elias also tells us that Soto is the first player to hit a home run in a suspended game that started before his major league debut. So that's what he did. Nationals rookie hit a pinch-hit home run, bottom of the 6th inning, in a game that was suspended from May 15th. Soto made his major league debut May 20th, but the home run will officially count on May 15th, the date of the original game, 5 days before his major league debut.
Sure.
Good luck.
Yes.
With that.
So if you think, has that ever happened before? It actually has happened before. And of course, the one person that would know that would be our own Tim Kirkjian.
The fact that he was in the minor leagues at AA 2 weeks before the May 15 game started is really confusing. But I've seen this happen before. It happened with Dave Parker once. It happened with Barry Bonds once. And if it ever happens that one guy plays in the same game for 2 teams involved in the game, then that will be it. I will retire because it's possible a pitcher could get a win and a loss in the same game. And when that happens, I will have to leave because nothing could get better than that.
So that can never happen, right? That's because we cannot lose, our
Tim.
national treasure in Tim Kirkjian. So that can never happen.
It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
It's just a whole bizarre thing trying to explain it.
Whatever lengths I have to go to figure this out, whatever lengths I have to go to stop this, if I have to go Terminator style and go back in time and stop someone from going back in time to make this happen, I'll do it. That's how much I care about Tim.
He mentioned Parker and Bonds, though Soto was the first with a home run. For Barry Bonds, it was concerning his first career hit. I'm not going to get into the dates and the times and all that because it's just too confusing. Yeah. Just know it happened.
Yeah, just know this much. A home run that Juan Soto hit on May 15th is his 6th Major League homer, even though he made his Major League debut on May 20th.
And by the way, what was the little thing you threw in there about Washington, which actually won the suspended game that was continued?
They won the continuation game, but because, again, it took place back in time, they're still on what I think now is a four-game losing streak.
Sure. Why wouldn't it be? It makes all the sense in the world.
Oh, my head hurts.
Sports.
Yeah, I was told there would be no math or science. Okay, England. We're staring at a draw in their opening match against Tunisia, the Eagles of Carthage, in their World Cup opener until Harry Kane scored a header in stoppage time to secure the 2-1 win, Mike.
Yeah, I thought this was going to be a draw, and I thought you were going to be sick from it. Tunisia, by the way, winless in 12 straight World Cup matches dating back to 1978. And by the way, this is England's first win in the opening round since 2006 against Paraguay. They were winless in the previous two World Cup openers, so a good one for them. Kane coming through with the header. Big win for them.
Big win for them, and a big win for Ed Sheeran.
This is
in
amazing.
All of this. I thought this was a
Throw
cool,
this out there.
I thought this is a cool one.
Fantastic.
So this is courtesy our own Darren Ravel threw this repost up on his Instagram feed. But Ed Sheeran posted this. Ed Sheeran, who is English, posted a picture of an England jersey and wrote on it, my mom bought me a fake England jersey in 1998 because it was cheaper. It only had 2 lions on it, and the kids in school made fun of me for it. Now I've sold out 7 Wembleys, and I get England shirts for free. Yay, Ed Sheeran.
That is awesome, dude.
So stick it to all those people that made fun of me, basically, is what he's saying.
Now, he also wrote the lyrics to Perfect on another jersey, and anyone who puts it on gets pregnant and married automatically.
Well,
so maybe find that one.
Wow. And he had an appearance in Game of Thrones last season.
Yeah, big time.
Was it 2 seasons ago? I can't remember. Game of Thrones.
I don't know.
I think it might have been 2 seasons ago.
It means he's probably dead, though.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he was just a Lannister guard. They were going to throw them away. They put him in as a minstrel.
Quick side note, we're getting Game of Thrones prequels.
Oh, yes. Come on, you knew this was coming.
Oh, yeah.
You knew they had to keep the gravy train going. Right?
No one tell Herm.
Yeah.
Please, God, no one tell
No
Herm.
one tell our boy Herm Edwards. Bad guy's got to drag. Bad guy's got to drag. A little spoiler. Didn't work. Okay, so the World Cup and Game of Thrones is what everybody's talking about. It's brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the Nose start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. So we're trying to figure out here what we're doing as we got today's matches in the World Cup. You got Colombia against Japan.
Colombia against Japan, for what we care, that's the staff against Trey.
I have Japan.
Colombia, right, you have Japan. The staff has Colombia. Portugal against Senegal. I have Portugal. I mean Poland. Yeah. I have Poland, and Mike has Senegal. And then it's Russia against Egypt. The staff has Russia, and Mike, you have Egypt. So that's all we care about is our snake draft. 4 different teams here. Each have 8 teams for our team, and we're scoring it 3 for a win, 1 for a tie, nothing for a loss. So that's all that matters right now.
And right now, Junior, are you in the lead?
Junior's in the lead with 11 points. Yeah. The staff has 10. Trey, you and I have 9.
Well, but we're right there.
We're all bunched. All tight.
Me and Devin, I would appreciate you guys addressing us as the nucleus.
Yeah, you weren't here today, so Devin made the picks for you. So you have him as a teammate since you guys are trying for the golf world record.
Yeah, the Baloney Boys.
Okay,
yeah.
All right,
Baloney Boys. So speaking of baloney, we need to figure out our World Cup sounder when something good happens, right? So we need to make sure we have something, whether it's a breaking news from the World Cup or a goal that's scored that gives us some points. So we need to go through these. We need to be part of the process.
Okay.
Everybody needs part of the process. You ready?
Yep.
Our good friends have come up with these sounders for the World Cup. Here is option number 1. I like that one. Now, that sounds like it might have been better for the 2014 World Cup, which was in Brazil.
Yeah.
That had a definitive South American vibe to it, did it not?
That did. I didn't really like that.
Yeah, that sounds a little more like, that's like the Waka Waka Shakira version.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, then there's
Great tune.
Then there's this one.
Yeah.
For a Russian World Cup, I'm saying
right.
That's going to be tough to beat.
That is.
That one's going to be tough to beat. Although we have 2 other options. So here's the third option.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
The finish.
Wow.
The finish.
Okay, so let's play that one again. That's pretty solid.
I still like the second one.
Okay, so one's out, right? Because that's
one's
more
out.
Yeah.
One's out.
So 2 was good. You like 2. I kind of like 3.
Okay.
I'm told 4 is the bomb diggity. You ready? By the way, I wish we'd put a camera on Stanzik when we played that. He gave us a little shimmy shoulder shake.
Play me 2 again.
Well, I'm going to play them
all
again.
No,
okay.
Forget 1. One's out.
One's out. Okay, here is 2. Again, it's a World Cup in Russia. right, pretty good.
Okay.
Allie likes that one.
I like that one.
Pretty good.
Two.
Yeah.
Golic likes 2. Here's 3.
This is like it's like if Russia took over CMA Fest.
I like the ending, but the rest of it doesn't move quite fast enough for me.
I think I may agree with you. I do like we stick the landing on that one, though. I do.
You
like
do
that
stick
one
the landing, yes.
a little too country.
Okay, and then here's the last one.
It's pretty good too.
That's the dance mix.
Okay, so it's between 2 and 4. Right?
I'm voting. My vote is for 2.
All right, let's play them one more time. Brett's on 2. Allie's on 2.
Play him again.
2 and 4. We're down to 2 and 4.
We're down to 2 and 4. Here we go. Our World Cup sounder for the next month. So you guys better get used to this. Here we go. Here's 2. Okay. It didn't have to stick the landing.
Yeah. I'm with you there.
And then here's 4. I don't know, man. That's very tough.
All right. Well, we got what 3?
Whoa. We have an update to the update sounders.
What do we got?
Jerry, our creative director, as we're now calling him.
Yes. Same as
Can
Jay-Z.
put that ending of the fourth one
on the second one.
On the second one.
Whoa.
I think that's the winner.
Well, we're going to need to hear it.
We're going to need to hear it.
We're going to need to hear it.
Get to work, Jerry.
The ending from the third one, I'm sorry.
The ending for the third one.
And from the third one, on the second one, then that, to me, that's going to be it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, the fourth one. Where's he going to put
play
on?
2, then play 3.
Okay.
So play 2 and then say, all right, now
play
the end
2
of 3.
And the end of 3.
Okay, so here's 2.
And then
now, the end of 3 is going to be at the end of 2.
So it's da-na-na-na, and then you have this one.
So that's going to be the end of 2.
The little hay, just jumps off at you.
You know, all that's missing is the vodka.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to take care. I got 2 bottles of vodka in my office, and I'm not kidding.
I took care of that already. We're good.
We're
good.
Oh, okay.
We're good on the vodka.
Oh, I thought you said you took care of the vodka in my office.
I took care of that vodka.
I'm taking care of that next commercial break.
All right.
Okay, so we're getting that.
Okay.
Jerry's putting together what we believe will be the ultimate World Cup sounder for us. We'll get that going.
Okay.
So, he's our creative director.
Yes, he is.
Speaking of creative directors, Jay-Z, as we're getting set for the draft, is now the creative director for Puma. They are going big into the shoe business, and apparently it's having the exact effect that Puma would be hoping it's having.
Oh, absolutely is. I mean, the whole idea of coming out with Puma's not new. It's an old becoming new again.
Yes.
But you got to get players to buy in. And right now, you have who was considered the top pick in the draft. DeAndre Ayton has signed with them. Marvin Bagley III has signed with them. He is projected to go 5th in this draft to the Dallas Mavericks. So we'll see if he moves up. And also one other, is it Zaire Smith also has signed with Puma. He is projected to go 16th to the Phoenix Suns. So actually, Ayton and Smith, if this draft would hold, what we see the mock draft, they would be teammates. But they have all signed with Puma. And listen, these are business deals. I mean, Nike's out there. We know the other brands that are out there. And I don't think there's any doubt that Jay-Z is going to having the influence here. Again, with what he's done with Rock Nation, certainly has been huge. But just how monstrous he is having an effect on these guys.
So this is a big deal. We already seen, like you mentioned, the agency world, but as far as the creative outlets for this, and with the athlete version, now these are the first NBA players to sign with this, but Skylar Diggins in the WNBA, the former Notre Dame star, has been signed to a Puma deal before this now. She is a Puma client and a Rock Nation client with Jay-Z. And then on top of that, not long ago, Rihanna, who also works with Jay-Z musically, put out a Puma shoe not too long ago. So this is a brand that trying here to deliver on the idea of culture. And they've said they want to integrate what we're doing in music, in culture, with these guys that are firmly a part of that. And as we've seen, athletes, regardless of the league, whether it's the NBA or the NFL, be more involved in these outside cultures and shaping things around their league. I think this is something that's going to appeal to guys, as well as fistfuls of cash.
Well, listen, money will always talk, but the reason that they brought in Jay-Z was he thinks he can bring in the guys, which will bring them want to sign with. So it's all circular here, right?
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. And so here we go. As far as Puma is concerned, the last person they signed, Vince Carter, who, oh, by the way, is still playing.
Still playing.
But this was in 1998.
My God.
Puma signed Vince Carter in 1998 to a 10-year deal, although that contract was ended after just 2 seasons. But I like this, how they brought the old with the new. Before unveiling its new basketball sneaker this week, Puma signed its first signature athlete, Walt Clyde Frazier to a lifetime contract in a great ceremony in New York. The brand's new silhouette is expected to be a modernized update to Frazier's iconic original Clyde sneaker from 1973 with a knit construction and today's technology. So updating that shoe. That's incredible.
That's fantastic.
That's very cool to tie in the old with the new.
And look, to your generation, I mean, my son has about 30 pairs of sneakers. He keeps them in the box all the time. I mean, this is a thing with this generation.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's social capital. It's like anything else. And a lot of these guys now that are signing these contracts are guys that grew up understanding the significance of sneakers and just what it means in your cool factor. So for these guys to now, in their minds, I'm sure, go to a different spot. I think I saw this quote from Marvin Bagley, because with a lot of this, as we saw with that FBI probe, you have sneaker companies tied in with these circuits for AAU basketball, right. All these different places where they get their hands on these kids young. So they create this sense of duty to these brands later on. Marvin Bagley basically said, listen, Nike's Nike, Adidas is Adidas. I've got a chance to get a lot of money off this and go to a place now where, selfishly, as I look for this as a sneaker fan and as someone who just enjoys watching this innovation, if you can get actual competition in this realm from Puma, it makes everybody better. If you've got another player in the market, it forces everyone else to say, what can we do better in this process? And so we all win.
So as a consumer of the shoe market, as you are, what will you stand out to you when this stuff comes out? What's going to make you say, that's cool, that's different, something I haven't seen before?
I mean, it's going to all be how it looks. That's what it comes down to, is at the end of the day. That's why Adidas has been able to make such a great push lately, is because they've come out with A, shoes that are comfortable and wearable, but B, also shoes that are visually pleasing, and in a lot of cases, affordable. And I know that's been a big push with a lot of people, is creating more surplus, because for so long, I mean, God, you had people dying in the name of sneakers, which everyone recognized is patently offensive and insane. Now, there's still a big secondary sneaker market, but these guys are trying to make more affordable shoes for kids like they once were. They understand how hard it was, and I think guys are a little more acute to that. So I'll be very interested in how Puma goes about this, if that's the route that they choose to try and make a shoe that's both quality and affordable.
So is the pricing going to be a big part of it in your mind?
Well, I have to, for mass appeal, if you're trying to appeal to the most possible people throughout this process. We've seen, you know what, a lot of it, I'll be interested how much it follows what we've seen with Steph Curry and Under Armour, because Under Armour was not a big sneaker player in this marketplace the way it was, and now you've seen through Steph's signature line them push their way into this field a little more. You wonder how it's going to marry up to what that process has looked like.
You can make the a very compelling argument that up until this time when they're getting these NBA players, the biggest Puma star was Ricky Fowler.
That's exactly right.
On the PGA Tour. So obviously they're going in another direction, trying to get more people in. We'll find that out.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Is your home an ADT home? If not, you have to get ADT and help protect against break-ins, fire, and carbon monoxide. For a limited time, get ADT's lowest rate starting at just $28.99 a month from the most trusted name in home security. Go to ADT.com/podcast to take advantage of ADT's lowest rate.
With 36-month monitoring contract, early termination and installation fees apply. Excludes taxes and fees. Applies to traditional services only. Certain markets excluded. Licenses available at ADT.com.
I'm a one-trick pony. Literally. I show up at kids' parties and act cute. That's pretty much it. So excuse me for being bitter. When Geico says not only could we save you money on car insurance, but we do more. Like give you 24/7 access online, over the phone, or even via our award-winning mobile app. Well, ooh la la. Aren't they multi-talented? Hey, I said organic carrots.
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
It's the game show segment that's captivating a nation.
The origin is Latin. It has been sort of corrupted over time.
Like this show.
Making everyone that hears it smarter.
In the 1800s, English authors were likely to partake in opium den activities.
Now, with your host, researcher Brett.
Take a guess where that came from. Brett's got your answer.
It's Bretymology.
Here are the categories. Words and their meanings. That's straightforward.
Golic and Wingo, presented by 1-800-Flowers.com. Surprise a friend or loved one today with a bouquet from 1-800-Flowers.com when you order a dozen multicolored roses for only $29.99. You're going to get another dozen free. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN.
All right, Bretymology time, where our researcher Brett comes up with a catchphrase, and we have to pick out whether he's giving us a fake definition or the real one. Here are the standings. Ryan Hollins is perfect, 4 for 4. Fitz went 3 for 4. I'm 24 for 36. Really 26 for 40, but we're not counting the 2.
No, we're not.
Gone. Golic Jr. 11 for 20.
Who ran out of here because he wants to do it with the staff more than us.
Right, that's fair.
Whatever.
Chris Canny is 2 for 4. Adnan's 2 for 4. Jeff Saturday 1 for 4. All right, Brett.
Go ahead, Brett.
The stage is yours, my friend.
First phrase: pass the buck.
Pass the buck.
Evading responsibility.
Yeah.
Is it from poker, which, as it was becoming popular in the United States in the late 1800s, cheating was rampant. To ensure cheating didn't occur during a game, dealers would rotate during a session. Person next in line to be the dealer would hold a marker, usually a knife with a buck's horn handle. Passing the buck meant passing on your turn to be the dealer, so you'd be able to play and make more money. Or does it come from French and an incredibly literal translation? The French word for scapegoat is bouc émissaire, which translates directly to buck messenger. So those who pass the buck are attempting to avoid taking the blame for something.
I'm going number 2.
You're going number 2?
Well, I mean, I'm taking the second answer.
Let's say you take it, because if you do, you need to leave.
I know.
Okay, so
second answer.
All right, the room, they're all going.
Just make a
split.
pick, Wingo.
Listen, he does the French thing a lot, and they're always fake. So I'm going number 1 with a knife. I'm going 1.
It's the poker.
Yeah. Who's the smart guy now? Let's go.
Second phrase.
Here we go.
Go ahead.
On or off the wagon. To abstain or not abstain from drinking.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Several organizations in the late 1800s encouraged men to avoid alcohol and take a pledge of full abstinence from drinking. Water carts or water wagons were commonly used at the time to wash the streets in cities, so a common phrase used when refusing a drink was to say you were, quote, on the water cart, which became on the water wagon and later on the wagon. Or is it from the early 1900s when Salvation Army General Evangeline Booth initiated an anti-alcohol program for lower-income and homeless men? Booth and others led wagons around city slums and picked up drunk men to be transported to rehabilitation centers. So those who were on the wagon were on a literal wagon, taking them down the path to sobriety, and those who were off the wagon had begun drinking again.
God, that's a good one.
Yeah.
But I'm going with number 1.
Well, I should take number 2 just to see if I can. No, I think it's 1. I'm going with 1. I'm going with 1.
Number 1, the water wagon.
Yes, let's go. You snapped it over 5 streak. Well done.
Yes!
The full Monty.
Yeah!
Complete set of a given thing. Is it courtesy of the early 1900s English tailor shop of one Montague Burton, a.k.a. Monty Burton? When a customer came in asking for the full Monty, they were looking for a 3-piece suit with all the accessories. Burton's company grew to be one of the largest clothing retailers in the UK, supplying suits to everyone from British soldiers returning from World War II to English soccer players in the 1966 World Cup. Or is it from Montebanco, or Montebank, the official card game of Mexico? We won't get too caught up with the rules, but the Monty is the name of the stack of cards that the banker deals out of during the game, and a full Monty is the best hand someone can have in the game, akin to a royal flush in poker.
Wow. All right, well, listen, I'm going to channel my inner Adnan here because there was a British movie that came out called
And they all
The Full
got
Monty.
naked. That's what I thought it was.
Right,
Yeah,
so
I did too.
I think because of that, and I'm going with the British origin, I'm going with number 1.
I'm going number 1 as well.
Room?
What? It's number 1, the
Mike
British
goes
tailor
with
shop.
2.
Yeah! Let's go! 3 for 3.
Way to go, Mike. You went in that room and you stink.
And your final phrase.
Maybe he went there because he does stink.
Oh, that's a good point.
Fair.
Death and taxes.
Okay.
Certain things are inevitable. Was it first written by Daniel Defoe, best known as the author of Robinson Crusoe? Defoe had a business career prior to being an author, including a time during which he collected taxes. He drew upon that experience and had much more in his non-fiction work, A Political History of the Devil, published 7 years after Crusoe in 1726. In that book, he wrote, quote, things as certain as death and taxes can be more firmly believed. Or was it written by Benjamin Franklin in one of his many letters exchanged with the French physicist Jean-Baptiste Leroy, this one from 1789. Franklin was expressing his hope for the staying power of the recently ratified U.S. Constitution, but he couched his optimism by saying, in this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes.
I'm going with Benny.
I got to go Ben Franklin. I'm going Ben Franklin.
Give me 1.
It's not Ben Franklin.
Who's the smart guy now? I went 3 for 4, and that's all that matters. All right, coming up.
Wow.
Something happened after a championship for the first time in nearly a quarter of a century. What does it mean? And more specifically, I went 3 for 4. We're back.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. Very interesting where that went.
We're delighted to be joined now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by World Golf Hall of Famer Colin Montgomerie, who was a Scottish legend and, of course, did so many wonderful things on the tour. 53 career wins, 8 times a European Tour Order of Merit winner, which is the money title. Colin, thanks for being with us this morning. Can you put into some sort of perspective what an amazing task it was for someone to repeat as U.S. Open champion?
Yeah, well, thank you very much first for having me on. And, I mean, was some week, wasn't it, at Shinnecock? You know, there's a lot of controversy around it yet again, the USGA, the way the course is set up. And, of course, our old friend Phil Mickelson deciding to take the rules into his own hands. But at the same time, it was a thrilling week. And it ended up producing, what we all feel was the best winner. Someone who was able to control not just physically on the golf course that last round, but mentally. You know, a target was set very early on by Tommy Fleetwood, which was a remarkable score, 63. And suddenly the target was set, and you think, is anybody going to actually stay ahead of this guy, or is Tommy Fleetwood going to win this? In fact, he was on the practice ground, wasn't he, waiting for a playoff, and wisely so. But all credit to Brooks Koepka for actually staying in there mentally and fighting off all the demons that Shinnecock Hills was throwing at him, and he deserved to win.
Well, I guess the question, we're talking to Colin Montgomerie, was second at the U.S. Open in 94, 97, and 2006. Were there too many demons, especially Saturday? Did the USGA go too far in how they set up the course, in your opinion, on Saturday?
Yes, I think they did. I think it's in everyone's view that plays the game professionally. They did set the course up. They went too far. The course was playable provided the pins were in sensible positions, and unfortunately, 2 particular holes sprung to mind: the 13th and 15th, which really became unplayable towards the end of the day. Very different course in the morning when the dew's there on the course, when it's slightly damper, there's more humidity in the air. But when the wind and the dryness springs up during the day, towards the end of the day, these holes were playing impossible. And really, they should have known that and put the pins in some sensible places. And unfortunately, they didn't, and they got penalized for it.
Well, they certainly did, as Colin Montgomerie is with us, World Golf Hall of Famer, courtesy of Loch Lomond. Later in the year, a Colin Montgomerie limited edition single malt will be released. Oh, boy. Loch Lomond whiskeys have been partnered with the Open running through the year 2022. The 5-year period includes playing of the landmark 150 Open at 2021 at St. Andrews, the home of golf. And, of course, it'll be at Carnoustie later on this year. But Colin, let's stick with that setup for a second at the U.S. Open. I was down there at Shinnecock over the weekend, and we all remember what happened in 2004. The last time the Open was there, they had to water the 7th green in between groupings over the weekend because nothing was holding. And it seems like nothing was learned by the USGA from the last time they held it at Shinnecock, as opposed to what happened again. We seem to be repeating the same mistakes.
I know. I mean, a mistake is something, but don't compound it by doing it again, and you're dead right. I mean, I was there in 2004, and the first 3 players on the Saturday morning, I believe, went through the 7th hole, and all made triple bogey 6s. Wow! And there's no water on the 7th, so that says it all. The ball was coming back to people's feet. It was like crazy golf, the putt stuff, and that's not what was learnt, unfortunately, and it was almost very similar to what was happening this year. And I think the problem arises is that what the USGA are trying to do is get the winning score at level par. Now, with the technology available today, with the strength of the players, with the golf ball technology flying so far, so straight, with the golf club technology, with twist faces and all the stuff you have, that therefore, with all that technology and all that brilliant golf now being played and the standard increasing all the time, they have to play around with the golf course to keep it at level par. Well, my view is, and a number of other pros are the same, forget level par now. Forget that. Let's go with the best player wins. Now, the British Open have done that for the last 20 years. They decided that if somebody does go and score 62, 61, well, they've played bloody well and they deserve to win the tournament. And I think that's what the USJ have to now go and do. They have to say, look, forget this level par. If somebody scores 10 under, good luck to them. They deserve it.
Talking to Colin Montgomerie again, World Golf Hall of Famer on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And then we get to what Phil Mickelson did on Saturday. So just what was when you first saw what he did, what was your initial reaction?
I think, golly, first of all, I mean, I've known Phil for 25 years. We've had some great battles together, whether it be in the US Open or other majors or in the Ryder Cup. You know, we played a lot together. And our lockers are close because he's MI and I'm MO, so we're very close in the locker rooms together. So we've sat and had chats in locker rooms together. So I know Phil, and he's a good friend of mine, and we play the same brand of golf club. But in saying all that, I mean, I think you and everyone else, for Phil's sake, wishes he could take back that 30 seconds of pure madness, and let's hope that it's forgotten as quickly as it happened, because it wasn't in the spirit of the game, it wasn't in the etiquette of the game. Whatever was said about the two-shot penalty and stuff, it just wasn't in the spirit of the game. And let's hopefully that Phil can move on from this as quickly as possible, and let's hope it's forgotten as quickly as it ever happened.
Well, that's a great point, Colin, because a lot of people that are, obviously in the game are very, very outraged by the fact that he did it. And do you think it's going to be forgotten? A lot of people think this will be part of his legacy going forward.
Well, unfortunately, in life, you do something a split second and it costs you. And let's hope it doesn't for Phil, because we all love Phil. But at the same time, the trouble with that situation was that Phil compounded it by saying, well, he almost tried to justify it with Curtis Strange when he was being interviewed, saying that, yeah, well, I meant to do that because it, I'm trying to use the rules to my advantage to save two shots. Well, it'd have been much, much better if he'd said, look, I lost my mind. Right. Come on, lads. I mean, it was crazy golf out there. I lost my mind. Sorry, move on, Not try and justify the situation and not try and know the rules the way that he was doing and trying to use them to his advantage. So that didn't help, and that's what's going to linger longer than it would have done otherwise.
So there are those that say, oh, look, other people are going to try this now. And I don't know if that would be true or not, because it seemed like such an embarrassing moment for Phil. But in your mind, from a technical standpoint, wouldn't this be an easy rule to fix, whether you're stopping the ball or actually hitting a moving ball? If you do it, he obviously did it with intent, you just automatically disqualify that person?
Well, it's like anything. If you do something intentionally, well, the punishment's more, isn't it? If you do something that's a mistake or an accident, okay, well, the punishment's not as severe. And I think if you intentionally run after a golf ball and stop it from going in a water hazard, for instance, look at the 15th at Augusta.
Right.
If you go over the back of that green and you hit a chip now towards the front of that green now, and the ball's moving slow enough for you to actually catch up with it and stop it from going in the water. Oh, hang on. What's this all about? So I think a new rule, that rule might have to be changed. You might find that rule to be changed to say, if you stop a moving ball intentionally, well, you're disqualified. Yeah.
And that's what makes it crazy, as we're talking with Colin Montgomerie, World Golf Hall of Famer, courtesy of Loch Lomond Whiskies. There are so many rules in golf that they sort of supersede each other, and you're looking at it, well, is it stopping a moving ball? Is it making a moving ball? Is it making a stroke? Is it a breach of etiquette? There's so many other things that sort of went into this. They had a mixed bag to choose from here.
Well, they did indeed. Rule 1-2 says that you can't hit a moving ball, and yet they were using rule, I think it was 24-5, which says that you can't deflect a moving ball. Well, by definition, if you hit it, you've deflected it. Right. So it was contradicting every rule that was, and obviously they wanted Phil to stay in the tournament, and they were sort of trying their best to make up what was a very bad situation. So let's hope they can clarify that rule more and say, look, if you intentionally deflect a moving ball, intentionally move it, well, you're out. Yeah. And I think that would be fair for everybody. Yeah.
All right, so Colin Montgomerie is with us, World Golf Hall of Famer. Obviously, the majors are a big part of every year in golf, but this is a Ryder Cup year. And to me, Colin, just so you know, this is my favorite sporting event in the world. I don't know of another sporting event where the absolute best in the business that make a lot of money choose to sign up just to do this for other things than money and just the love of team and the love of golf. You were one of the best Ryder Cup players of all time. It is a different dynamic as opposed to playing in a stroke play event where you're playing for yourself. You're now playing for your teammates, your country, and the nation. What is it about that format that brought the best out of you?
Yeah, I personally, with regard to the Ryder Cup, I personally enjoyed it more than any because I much prefer playing for someone else than I do for myself. You know, I got more up about the thing by trying to help others than I did playing for myself, and it really focused the mind in that I was holding putts for Nick Faldo, who was holding putts for Sandy Lyle or Woosnam or Langer or Seve or Olazabal or whoever it might have been in the days, Westwood, Donald. We were all holding putts for each other. And I think it brought us very much together as a team, that we're working together. You know, when I was captain in 2010, my first team meeting was that I said to my team that, look, I'm so glad you've left your ego at the door. You can pick it up on the way out, but I don't want any egos here. All I'm interested in is getting 14.5 points, and I don't care who the hell gets them, but we're going to get them between us, between all 12 of us. We need at least a point from everybody to win this thing. And God, thank goodness we won it by half a point. But it needs that to play as a team. You can't play the Ryder Cup with 9 guys anymore, or 6 or 7 guys. You need all 12 to help out to get as many points as possible, and that's what it's about, really.
And you certainly got it done with a record of 29-7. You were points total of 23.5 points, only 1.5 points behind the all-time record held by Nick Faldo. So you certainly held up your end of the deal, no doubt about that. And now, Colin, we need a little bit of help. And we
need a lot of help, Colin.
I may need a lot of your whiskey for this, quite honestly. Our group is going down.
You might need a drink beforehand and after, I'm sure.
And during. So our group is going down. We have a little mini tournament going down, and we're playing Pinehurst number 2 on Friday. You finished 15th there in 1999. Any advice outside of me just absolutely Phil Mickelssoning a ball or kicking it from a tree or something of how I can play this course?
It's amazing, isn't it? You know, you're going to play Pinehurst number 2. These greens are the ultimate upturn saucers, as we say. They're all on top of pinnacles, and I bet you hit a putt there, and I bet you 1 or 2 of your full ball are going to run after it and do a Phil Mickelson. It's going to be...
absolutely.
It's going to be... All I can suggest to you, gentlemen, is bring your A game to Pinehurst number 2. I think it's a fantastic setup and one of America's great resorts. 8 beautifully manicured courses, but number 2 springs to mind because that's where they play your National Open on, and it's been redone and back to its original beauty, and I think that it's one of the great places to play. So one, you'll enjoy it. I'm not sure you'll look at the scorecard afterwards and enjoy it, but you'll enjoy the challenge of it. And I do suggest a Loch Lomond whiskey definitely before and after, and if not during, definitely. During might be more appropriate.
Well, we might need it just to calm the nerves, and Loch Lomond whiskey would do that for us, correct?
Definitely. Yep.
Perfect. All right, listen, Colin, a pleasure having you on, and we look forward to seeing what happens when the Open Championship returns to Carnoustie. That is always a very interesting event as well. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It is indeed. You know, it'll be very similar to Shinnecock Hills in many ways. The Open, irons off the tees, fast running, and be very interesting to see the leaderboard. It could be very similar to the leaderboard we had at Shinnecock Hills.
Yep. Yeah. I had a chance to play it in 2015, and let's just say in July of that year, I saw all 4 seasons of the year of Carnoustie in Scotland.
Anybody coming out to the Open, I suggest they bring their whole wardrobe with them, just in case.
I'll be watching it, drinking your whiskey, Colin.
There you go. Colin, thanks for being with us this morning. Thanks so much.
Not at all. Thanks, guys.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
We're delighted to be joined now on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line by Bruce Arena, former men's national soccer coach, member of the National Soccer Hall of Fame, and author of the book, What's Wrong with Us, or the U.S., on the state of American soccer. Bruce, thanks for being with us. We'll get to the book in a second and the topic of that. But what have you made so far in opening play of this World Cup? We've seen some surprising results. Germany, the defending champion, lose to Mexico. You have Switzerland tying Brazil. Some shocking results early on in this World Cup.
Well, no doubt about it, because heading into this World Cup, I think everyone felt that the favorites were Germany and Brazil. So when you come out of game one in group play without 3 points, you're in for a battle. So obviously games 2 and 3 for those two countries are going to be critical.
As far as, and we just had a...
Let's get an update. Japan has just scored to take a 2-1 lead in the 73rd minute. Bruce, that's important because they were on my fantasy World Cup draft, just so you know.
Bruce, I've heard people say that they've had the one-man advantage that, and it seems hard to believe it's not that big of a deal, but I've heard people say it's not as big a deal as some would think when you have a one-man advantage. What's your thought on that?
Well, over 90 minutes, it's an advantage. If you can keep the ball, and especially in the conditions in Russia right now, I think it's close to 80 degrees in this game. So over 90 minutes, the Colombia team will wear down a little bit, and you can see in this game that in the second half, Japan's starting to generate some quality chances, and Colombia's fatiguing. So it is an advantage. It's not as big as people think, but it certainly is an advantage.
All right, Bruce Arena is with us, and you wrote that book, What's Wrong with Us, or U.S., on the state of American soccer. How shocked were you when this team did not qualify?
Well, certainly I was disappointed, and, I discussed this in my book, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of say in the matter what went wrong. I listened to a little bit of Taylor's comments, and although Taylor's supposed to be an expert in the game, I think he's dead wrong on a couple of things. We were surprised, but it was a difficult year. I took over after 2 games. The Hex in World Cup qualifying CONCACAF is a total of 10 games. So we started off with 2 losses in November 2016, and I came in 2017. We had 8 games remaining. We knew from the start it was going to be a battle and it was going to come down to the end. Our team had a great run in the year. We won the Gold Cup. We won 14 games in a row, undefeated. In the last 4 games, we needed to, as you do the math now, we needed to earn 5 points and ended up earning 4 and failed in the last day in Trinidad and not against the third team in Trinidad, as Taylor explained, but we failed on the day, and there's no excuses. And for whatever reason, there are days where teams are not on, and that was one of the days for us. And to this day, I can't explain why. But we fell short, and the circumstances were such that Honduras and Panama won their games, and the U.S. was eliminated by a point. And it's very disappointing. However, it's a warning sign. For years, we've been very complacent about our role in CONCACAF, and World Cups are going to come easy. They're not. Qualifying for a World Cup is extremely competitive in every region in the world, and certainly it is in CONCACAF as well.
Bruce, what do we need to do? What does America need to do to get back in the conversation around the world for men's soccer?
Well, we have good young players. However, I think between the ages of 17 and 21, we have nowhere for them to go, where we don't have enough competition for them, the quality competition, coaching, and the ability to play in their domestic league. And listen, I don't believe that the young American players should be given a privilege where they get on the field automatically. They have to earn it and all, but the trend in Major League Soccer over the last couple of years is that it's largely an international players league. So 70% of the starters in Major League Soccer are international players. And that's hampering the development of the American player. And people wonder why the national team, they get some injuries or suspensions, they don't have quality depth. We don't have young players that are developing, and the players that play in Major League Soccer tend to be a little bit older, the American player, and we're not giving young Americans a chance. And I believe it's the job of our governing body, U.S. Soccer, to put some rules and regulations in place to allow for more Americans to play. And that's not something new. It's done in a lot of countries in the world in their domestic league. So I strongly believe we've got to make some changes. in the rules and regulations in Major League Soccer as well as some other areas also.
All right, Bruce, our best player in America is considered to be Christian Pulisic, who's playing in Germany right now. So not that he has to have on his shoulders how the men in America become big in soccer around the world, but in your mind, what should his route be as he gets older?
Well, he's playing for a very good club team in Germany, Dortmund. So he has a great platform right now to develop. And, you know, there was no secret about Christian Pulisic. At 17, he was rated by a lot of people the best 17-year-old player in the world. It was not a secret and a surprise that this young man turned into be a very good player. He needs to continue to develop, and he's going to have another move in the next couple of years, and hopefully it's with a club team that gives him an opportunity to play on a regular basis. I'd hate to see our best player go to a Barcelona or a Real Madrid and play fewer minutes. So he needs to be playing. So that's going to be an important move. However, with the U.S. national team, it just can't be Christian Pulisic. We need to develop other players. Our top American players in Europe are not playing big roles on their club teams. We have a lot of players in Major League Soccer that are not getting the opportunity. So we've got to come up with a plan and execute the plan over the next couple of years in order to have a stronger roster for qualifying for the 2022 World Cup.
Bruce Arena is with us, former head coach of the United States men's national team in soccer. Hey, I want to get your reaction to something that's really caught on a lot of attention. Landon Donovan went out there and put on a sponsored tweet saying my other team is Mexico, and a lot of people had some issues with that, saying you're basically going against our bitter rival. What was your reaction to seeing that out there?
Well, listen, I've competed a lot of years against Mexico in the national team program, and there are fierce rivals. However, the United States not in this World Cup, and when I watch games, I support Mexico, Panama, Costa Rica. Now, I don't do it commercially. I'm not, and I think that's the knock against Landon. I don't see anything wrong with supporting Mexico as counterparts in our region, but you know, I guess the knock is that he was doing it for commercial reasons, and it didn't go over that well with people. However, you know, we have enough problems in this world that we are establishing hate now in the sport of soccer because you're mentioning I'm supporting this team during the World Cup. I think it's a little over the top.
Well, listen, things tend to get over the top, especially on social media, pretty quickly. Again, the book is What's Wrong with Us or the U.S., available in bookstores everywhere. Bruce Arena, former U.S. men's national team head coach. Bruce, we appreciate your insights on the World Cup, and thanks for being with us this morning.
Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.